first question might be, why the Demon Hunter? Why did we choose this class? So, the first one's kind of obvious. A couple of you, like maybe one or two, guessed that we might put a class that shoots bows and crossbows and throws things. Like, it was a good guess. There's one or two of you that actually got it. So really, the Demon Hunter fills out our archetypes. So we knew from the beginning that we wanted, you know, a blasted wizard type, and a big barbarian, a head class. And we knew we wanted a class that really used conventional range weaponry. So she was really one of the earliest classes that we chose, but she was very different when we first chose to make her. So we really felt this character fit the Diablo universe. We wanted a very dark character, an almost obsessed anti-hero. And this clicker doesn't like to click. We really liked the idea of like a bounty hunter. That was really a lot of the drive for what we wanted. We wanted a character that felt like this is somebody who really hunts down an enemy. So, some aspects of, you know, whenever we decide to make a class, we always kind of like to boil it down to like the top 3 things. What's this class all about? So the first one was pretty obvious. We knew we wanted what we call a conventional ranged class, which is a class that operates at range but uses kind of weaponry to do that. So we also liked the idea of this bounty hunter vibe, so we wanted to get in this idea of like gadgets and traps, and basically a bounty hunter prepares for the fight, so we wanted to really focus on that with this character. And we always looked for a way to do more fantastical stuff with the character. The Diablo 3 classes are very showy. So here we have Shadow Magic. Shadow Magic is really kicking into the idea for the Demon Hunter that she really likes to dabble in anything she can to make her more effective at hunting down the enemy. So she's not adverse to, you know, using dark magic or you know, hey, I found out if you take the spleen of this demon and carve it down into a bow, it actually gives the arrows actually go like 20% faster. So she knows kind of every trick. She knows more about demons than anyone in the Diablo universe.
Now, what happened here is we early on started with early concepts, and what you can see here is a woodland ranger concept. And that already looked pretty ranged, obviously. You can see the arrows in the back. And that was a good starting point. I really like that stuff. And what we said to ourselves, well, we also want to make sure that it's still read a little bit on the swifter side, and also a little bit more deadly, so to speak. So we add a little bit more of an edge to the character. But that still wasn't quite where we wanted the character to be. And while we already liked it a lot, and we really thought there were some really great concepts going on with it already, there's something missing. We didn't quite know what we needed to add to it. What we started to do is, we started to add elements to them to give it a little bit of a twist. Most of the Diablo classes we do, we always give it a little bit of a twist, a little bit of an angle, a little bit of a little extra something. In this case, what we started doing is we started adding in certain melee aspects. We had short daggers, short swords, even fist weapons. You can see some armor on the chest there. And as we iterated on this, we even added a little bit more of that. We had towels and a lot of different elements like that. And as you can see, a lot of our products take a lot of development. One of the things that we started to realize as we went through all these concepts was that it really didn't start to read ranged anymore. It started reading more and more like an assassin, and started reading a little bit like a melee class. And so really, at that point, we sort of said to ourselves, you know what, we need to take a break. We sort of need to slow down, rethink what we're doing. And what we did is, we sort of decided to look a little bit more concepts, and really sort of go back to the basics, and sort of rethink from the get-go what we wanted to do with this class. There's a few questions we've asked ourselves at this point. One of them was that we had announced the monk class the previous year, and we said to ourselves, you know what, we really wanted to make a class now that's a little bit on the darker side, one that you didn't quite know where they stood with in the world and what their outlook was and everything. We also knew that we wanted to make a class a little bit more mysterious, so that you didn't quite know the history about the character. The other thing that was really important to us was that we're huge fans of Diablo 2, obviously, and we really wanted to make sure that we had a class in our lineup that was a little bit more on the medieval side, a little bit more gothic, and really harken back and pay tribute to the Diablo 2 classes. Of course, most importantly, we want to make sure it had range. So, what do? We came up with a Demon Hunter, and that's what you're seeing today. So, how do you make a Demon Hunter? First off, we started with the craziest thing we could think of. And we said, well, what if it was a demonic Demon Hunter? What if it's a demon hunting demons? And as you can see, here's a concept of a fully cloned demon. And we really liked this concept. We thought it was a lot of fun. It only had two problems with it. One of them was that in the Diablo universe, our heroes really have to be human. This really, they're pitted against the hordes of hell, and having a hero that's demonic would be probably a problem. Also, there was a problem in terms of maybe designing gameplay around a changeling or a changeable shape-shifting class. So we went back and said to ourselves, well, what if we just make it part demon? And in this particular case, you see the concept with a very largely Demon Hunter concept design that has a demonic arm. One of the issues we had at that point was we were worried about the fact that maybe, well, if this guy walks into town and is trying to sell his wares or try to buy something, maybe the townspeople wouldn't quite go along with it, seeing a demon on it. And also, the size and the bulkiness of them at this point felt very strong, and we weren't sure if we could really feel ranged or fast and swift and agile as we weren't hoping for. And of course, the arm implies melee because it's so thick and strong. Now, we changed all those things at that point. We said, you know what, let's go a little sleeker, a little bit more agile. We decided to go with a design that only had armor up until the rib cage, and below the rib cage was very light and leathery. We also decided to go with dual crossbows. We thought that would really be cool. We were still holding on to the demon arm. We thought maybe we could pull it off. But when we started finding is, as people were playing it, they really wanted to hit things with the demon arm. They felt like it's just something you really want to use. So at some point we sort of had to say goodbye to it. And again, they also messed with the human part. So last but not least, what we ended up with was this design, and it's very close to the previous one. And as you can see, it had a cowl. It's a little bit more on the dark side and a little bit mysterious. It still moves very fast and swift. And of course, we also want to make sure it had a dark vibe to it, and it really read very anti-hero-ish in that sense. And also a little bit of that medieval vibe that we're talking about. And of course, most importantly, that it read range.